What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Weekly podcast with the Iowa State Daily. Like always, I'm Brett Schwellmeyer, and I'll be your host, and I'll have my co-host introduce himself.
What's up, guys? Assistant Sports Editor Pavel Markovic back with you for another pod.
Yep, we are indeed back. First pod back from break. School hasn't officially started yet. We've got a couple more days, but we decided that it's been long enough. We haven't talked about the Pop-Tarts Bowl yet, so that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah, 99th episode, I think, of Sports Weekly.
99th episode.
Nothing better to do than recap the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That was a show, to say the least. You know, didn't expect this type of game from Iowa State. I know after the Big 12 championship game, like, kind of a crushing loss, you know, going there, losing to a Cam Skadbu-led Arizona State team. And they really rebounded. You know, some of these players, which we'll get into, like Jaden Higgins, Darian Porter, opted to not play after going through warm-ups, which I guess, you know, makes sense in some sort of way to prepare for the NFL draft. But looks like they didn't need them in Orlando. So
yeah, they made the most of what the players that they had available to them. Iowa State did. One of them that really kind of stuck out to me, I just want to dive right into this. Two of them, actually. Carson Hansen, 3 touchdowns for him in that game, 2 rushing, 1 receiving. And then Rocco Becht obviously leading that game-winning touchdown drive, which we've seen him do multiple times this season, and I felt like that entire game just kind of encapsulated the season as a whole. If you put the whole season of Iowa State into 60 minutes of football, it was the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Yeah,
that game, like, encapsulated the whole thing. Like, you know, with all these records set, like, you knew, like, hopefully the Big 12 championship was a part of those accolades, but unfortunately it wasn't. But they still made the game, which is still an impressive feat. But, you know, capping it off with a game that, needless to say, I don't think Iowa State was coming in favored because of Cam Ward, who's projected a top 5 pick now in the NFL draft. And he played in this first half, which we'll talk a little bit more, I guess, a little about later. Just only the first half and not the whole game. I feel like if we played the whole game, we probably wouldn't have won. But, you know, we take what we can get. But, yeah, like you said, like, this game perfectly encapsulated this awesome season. And, you know, like you said, Carson Hansen, too, like 15 total touchdowns for him, 13 on the ground and 2 receiving. It's just impressive to see a guy like that, because I know last year he kind of battled through injuries on top of being behind guys like the emergence of Abu Sama, and there's also Cartavius Norton and Eli Sanders, who were there last year, who are not there this year, but that's not part of the story. But nonetheless, you know, it was awesome to see him kind of emerge as the lead back. I know Abu Sama was expected to be that, but I'm excited to see what he does for next season, projected to be the lead back.
Yeah, and I felt like throughout the season, Hansen really kind of stepped into that RB1 role. We know that Abu Sama started a lot of games. Jalen Jackson had a couple that he was pretty solid in, but overall it was definitely Carson Hansen, and I think that going into next season, he's definitely going to be that guy who's going to be in the starting role. Abu is going to be right behind him, though. Probably a 2-back tandem next year for those two. But the game itself, I mean, stuff happened on the first play of the game. I mean, bad snap, Miami fumbles, Iowa State takes over. And from there, it was just all offense. It felt like the defenses had nothing after that in that first quarter. That first drive that Iowa State had on that short field, I thought was really impressive, because they were put eventually into a 4th down situation. Instead of taking the easy 3 points, they went for it. I thought that was the right call, because you can take the 3 points right there. Just, you know, you're not supposed to have the ball, take the 3 points. But, I mean, if you are there, just take the risk. And it paid off with a touchdown on that opening drive.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the defense. Like, it looked like Swiss cheese from both sides. You know, like, we knew going in that Miami's defense wasn't great. That was kind of their downfall of their season. That's why they didn't make the college football playoff. But just seeing Iowa State's defense, you'd think they rebound off of what happened in the Big 12 championship game, but it really didn't. But to be fair, look at the offense they had to face. Like, I know Miami's missing their top receiver, Xavier Restrepo, but like Higgins, he opted out. But, you know, they still, like, first half, it was very, very rough defensively for just both sides, not just Iowa State. But, yeah, like you said, going back to the going for it on 4th down, like, what else do you got to lose? I mean, this is the last game of the season. You want to take those risks. And it's only 4th and 1, too. It wasn't like a 4th and 10. Like, you want to be like, okay, let's consider kicking the field goal here. Now let's go 4th and 10. It's really hard to get those yards on 1 down. So, but, yeah, that was awesome job by Taylor Mauser, just in the whole game, too. Like, I did not expect the offense to explode like this. You know, this first quarter was like no first quarter I've ever watched, just back and forth shots, just touchdown. I don't remember how many consecutive drives was it for each one.
I think it was eight consecutive touchdown drives, or scoring drives.
Yeah, 8 consecutive scoring drives, and that's just impressive to see for both sides of the ball. I mean,
yeah.
obviously good on the offensive side, horrible on the defensive side. But,
Yep.
Those are the games you kind of like to watch as a fan, those kind of high-scoring affairs, not those low. I mean, we could enjoy a little low-scoring defensive game, but now and again, but I prefer those offensive games, and it showed here from both sides.
Yeah, you can definitely. Going into it, we kind of expected it, though. Miami has the number 1 offense in the country. Their defense isn't the best. Iowa State with Taylor Mauser, like you were talking about, getting creative in some of their play calls, and I felt like they did that somewhat in the Pop-Tarts Bowl as well. The defense kind of spotty again. When it came to passing defense, Cam Ward kind of tore up Iowa State. He had his 3 touchdowns. He had nearly 200 yards, and that was only in the first half, like you were saying. When they put in Emory Williams, who was their backup quarterback, that's when things kind of went awry. That's kind of when things started to move more to the defense. I mean, we only had 24 points scored in the second half, whereas the first quarter alone had 35. So, yeah. I mean, the things really kind of shifted. It turned into probably what most people would say is like a regular football game because, I mean, the way that the offenses were playing in the first half, it felt like rookie mode on Madden. It was just unreal.
Yeah, like you said, it was kind of like one of those rare occurrences you see. Well, I mean, there's some games, but like especially with teams like Iowa State, and you don't really kind of expect that thing, especially in a bowl game like this. But seemed like first half Miami's game plan was just let Cam Ward shine, raise his draft stock as much as he could, and to be fair, he kind of did. Went 12 for 19, 190 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had 2 rushing attempts for 8 yards, but that's like really null. But obviously you saw first half was just let Cam Ward shine, really let him throw the ball down the field. But then when second half, Emory Williams came in, was really a run first mentality, and it obviously worked out because Miami was able to score whatever amount of points from their rushing attack with, I think it was Damian Martinez and Mark Fletcher Jr., who just kind of gashed Iowa State defense. I was already reeling from dealing with Cam Ward in the first half.
And I thought some of the decision-making from Miami's offense in the second half was a little strange because Emory Williams throws 5 for 14 out there, but a lot of his throws came in third down situations, like kind of third and long, and it was kind of weird that they considered to continue to throw the ball because Martinez was just, again, torching the Iowa State defense. And we've been saying it all season. The run defense just was not there again. We expected it not to be. It wasn't. I don't know really what the problem was the entire year, but it was a problem. Apparently, though, it didn't really matter in the whole grand scheme of things. Iowa State finishes 11-3. They found ways to win games, even with the rushing defense not being able to do anything all season, basically. But I just wonder if Miami decided to run the ball in some more of those third down situations, would Iowa State have cracked under that? Would Miami have picked up a couple more? Would they have won the game? And it's just another, would they, won't they type of things, hypotheticals, but they didn't. Iowa State took advantage and ultimately won the game. But there were a couple drives that Iowa State had that were pretty key. 2 of them, they hold Miami to just a field goal. If they give up a touchdown on just one of those drives, Miami wins the game. So that bend but don't break mentality, when it came down to it, especially that fourth quarter field goal Miami had, that ultimately felt like the deciding factor.
Yeah, they said like that final 2 minutes, I feel like, of the game, where Rocco Beck drove down the field and scored the touchdown to give Iowa State the lead after the Conradi extra point, of course. But the defense stepping up right there, and then obviously at the end with Cam Sturgis getting his first interception of the season. I think he's been dealing with or Drew Sturgis, not Cam Sturgis, my bad. But he's been dealing with injuries all year, and it was nice to see him get a pick to end this season. I feel like it really encapsulated it. They were just kind of not even close, throwing the Hail Mary type of thing. But like you said, holding them to those 2 field goals. I know the one in the second quarter, and then obviously the one in the fourth quarter was probably the biggest moment of the game. But yeah, it was impressively done. Obviously, they were able to step up in a big way, and
Yeah, that drive that Iowa State had to win the game, though. I mean, if you're going to trust a quarterback to win a game like that, when the game's on the line, it comes down to the final drive, you need a touchdown, I trust Rocco Becht. And he proved it again. They drove down the field pretty well the whole entire way. They didn't really have a bad play, I thought, on that entire drive. When they got down to the goal line, sometimes it was the penalties that helped out. They got like a penalty or two that kind of helped move things, inch things closer and closer and closer, and from the 4 to the 2 to the 1, and then finally, of course, they have to end it on a Rocco Becht QB sneak with just under a minute remaining in the game. And at that point, Miami, they can't throw the ball. They don't really have any timeouts. They've got to go the length of the field, even to get a field goal, and just to end it on an interception too. Iowa State wins it on a pick. What more can you say? Just a fantastic win for the Cyclones.
Yeah, picture perfect. And yeah, going back to that final drive for the offense, it kind of worried me, because they initially, got down to inside the Miami 5-yard line to try and score there was the 2-minute warning that it hit, and they had, that attempt to score, but, giving Miami a little bit of time. But then obviously you saw Rocco couldn't complete some passes, but luckily Miami got a holding call, so reset the down, moved them up 2 yards, and then it had to come down to a 4th and 1, which really made me nervous because out of all those attempts, you couldn't really punch it in after being only 2 yards out, and they only got 1 yard from it. So, but obviously Rocco, they had to go with the tried and true method of him just sneaking it up the middle for the score, and it worked out in the end, but a little stressful there at the end.
Yeah. I felt like a lot of the games this season were pretty stressful, though. It was like, oh my gosh, why is it coming down to the final drive every game?
Heart attack Cyclones.
Yeah, cardiac clones.
Cardiac clones. Yeah.
But no, it was a really fun game. I thought the whole way through, just the amount of scoring that we had, the pageantry of just the Pop-Tart Bowl itself. I thought out of all of the bowl games, aside from the college football playoff, this was probably the most hyped, and I think it lived up to it. Yeah. You have 2 ranked teams that just barely missed the college football playoff. It felt like Iowa State was a win away. Miami was a win away from the ACC championship game, and you've got to wonder if they made that. Even if they had lost the ACC championship, would they have made the playoff? SMU did. So
yeah,
Miami probably could have. But just everything kind of surrounding the game itself, with the mascots, the sprinkles painted on the sidelines, the trophy being an actual working toaster, everything surrounding the Pop-Tarts Bowl, I thought was just perfectly executed. Fantastic marketing done by Pop-Tarts, by Kellogg's, and it was a blast.
Oh, yeah. Well, going into our experiences here a little bit, but the general trip was just an amazing thing. They did it up really well. Give props to everyone in Orlando that did their job over there. It was really good time for us, obviously, and it seemed like for the fans too. Getting a show like this with those type of teams is kind of what you wanted to go see when you kind of pay for your ticket to go see the admission. But I just really thought this was an awesome time, and it was, I think, almost immaculate for this whole team, but not luckily, sadly, one key injury happened in this game that kind of lost hope, I feel like, for a little bit, just because of who got hurt, and that was Bo Freeler.
Yeah, that was rough to watch, just from what Bo has stood for and has battled through his entire career at Iowa State, to come here as a freshman, to stay his entire college career, to battle through the injuries he has before, and to decide to play in his final game, I thought was great. I wish that all the seniors would have played, but I understand why they don't want to. They just don't want to get hurt before the NFL draft. But I'm glad Bo stayed. I'm glad he played. But unfortunately, that's just the game of football, really, is there's always that risk of getting hurt. Unfortunately, he did. Looked like a pretty bad knee injury from what I could tell. I just hope that he's going to be okay, though. Once he is healed, I hope that he does have a future playing football somewhere, whether it's in the NFL, whether it's the UFL, something. I think that he's a good enough player that he can continue to play at the next level. But the play after that, though, was a bit of a rejuvenation of the team in some sorts. I think it was a 3rd down play that Miami was on. Cam Ward, I think it was the one where he was just standing there in the pocket, with no pressure.
The offensive line just did their job, and only rushing 3 makes sense for them to have all day in the pocket. He's just sitting there it's a typical day,
Yeah, literally just stands there, doesn't even move his feet when he throws the ball. Dumps it off to his running back. He gets 1st down yardage, but then fumbles, courtesy of Will McLaughlin, recovered by Tashawn James, and it's Iowa State football.
Yeah.
That was a big play at that moment, I thought. Just to kind of, again, give the team the energy. It's Bo's out. We need to do something now. Everyone's got to step up, and that was the step-up moment that they needed really in that second quarter there.
Yeah, but, I wish Iowa State was able to really convert on points because obviously that drive after they just went 3 and out, and they tried to go for it on 4th and 4, but unable to get there. But obviously, they're really big on the defensive side's part to really, after a key injury, just one of their captains to get the cause one of those big plays. Because obviously the first play of the game wasn't really, I said Iowa State didn't really force it. It just seemed like bad start from Miami, wherever the center, Cam Ward, didn't know what was going on. But this one was really key. Obviously, Will McLaughlin getting that punch out, and luckily Tayshaun James was able to get in. Just really felt like a momentum booster for this defense. I was kind of reeling from facing Cam Ward this first half.
Yeah, they were struggling when Cam Ward was in the game for sure. He just kind of proved again that he is a guy who will likely end up being the number 1 draft pick. We'll end up seeing what happens with him, but top 3, top 5 for sure, though.
Oh, yeah.
We had a lot of guys up there in the tackle numbers for Iowa State, and I don't know. I think that's just because of the sheer amount of drives that were had in this game. Every team had the ball so many times, but I mean, Marcus Neal, Tayshaun James, Jontez Williams, all with 8 tackles leading the way. Cooper Ebel, Miles Purchase, Joey Peterson, all with 6. Then Zachary Lovett, Will McLaughlin with 5 apiece. And Bo Freeler, before he went down with the injury, finished with 2 tackles. He ended up leading the team this season with 84 tackles. So how about that?
Yeah, props to him. There's no better way for him to go out than leading a team. I know Verdon and him were kind of climbing up the ladder who'd get there, but Verdon obviously didn't play in this Pop-Tarts Bowl because he's still dealing with that arm injury, even though tried to make it happen in the Big 12 championship game, looking like a robot out there with his arm taped up and all that. But, nonetheless, it's just really a perfect way for Bo Freeler to go out. I mean, obviously not with the injury, but like leading the team with tackles and doing everything that he's done this season. And, it just shows the type of person he is. And like you said, I think he really will exceed somewhere. Hopefully, he gets an NFL opportunity. But if he does go to the UFL, I think he'll thrive. Hopefully for St. Louis, so that we get more Cyclones.
That'd be fun. Cyclones in the UFL, Cyclones on the Battlehawks with Anthony Becht as head coach.
St. Louis Cyclones.
Yes, sir. Another guy who could end up being a good NFL talent, we haven't talked about him yet today, Jalen Knoll. Led the team in receiving yet again. Higgins was out, so obviously everyone's going to turn to Jalen Knoll when that happens. 8 catches, 117 yards, and a score. And of course, he had a over 40-yard catch, nearly 50, 49 yards for him on one of his catches. Again, just a good day for Jalen Knoll, but we also saw some other guys finally get some action that haven't really a whole lot this season. One of them was really Isaiah Alston. Finally caught a pass this season. Took until the bowl game, the postseason, but he caught 2 passes. Eli Green also caught a couple there. And Gabe Burkle was leading tight end. Yeah,
Burkle actually caught his first, I think it was his first collegiate touchdown on that first drive, and I honestly didn't know that. I thought he actually caught one at some point, but but no better time to get your first one, right, than to start off that high scoring affair.
Yep, especially on nationally televised bowl game. All eyes are on you, especially in the first quarter when I feel like there's probably people that are like, oh, the Pop-Tarts Bowl is on, let's turn it on. And then probably the fumble happens. They're like, oh, let's keep watching and see if they score. Short field ahead, Iowa State scores. So I have a good feeling that, probably a good million amount of people saw Gabe Burkle score that first touchdown.
Oh, yeah, he got to see all eyes, and, I know they'll have a lot of eyes on them, too, going to Ireland against Kansas State to start off the season, because just like how was Georgia Tech, Florida State this year. But, yeah, couldn't have better Farmageddon over the pond. But, obviously, you said Isaiah Alston finally got a catch, and I feel like that's really huge for his momentum, for his confidence going forward. I think now that visually that Knoll and Higgins are gone, they need that X receiver to be one of the top guys. Kind of saw with Carson Brown, Eli Green, a little sprinkle in there, but I feel like Alston could really become that number 1 guy if he keeps working during the offseason with Rocco and all that. And I think it'll be fun. I know it'll probably be more of a tight end year, though, because we have Burkle and Bramer, kind of a tandem. But, we'll see.
Yeah, go back to the Brock Purdy years when they had that triple tight end. You had, oh, my gosh, you had – I'm blanking on their names. Easton Dean.
Yeah, Easton Dean. Chase Allen.
Allen, Charlie Kohler. Wow, that took me way too long to figure out. I watched those games.
We just talked about it last night.
We did, yeah. Wow. losing brain cells over here. But no, I think that going back to the receiver room itself, Alston could be a good option. Carson Brown's there. We know that he was kind of looked on as the number 3 kind of throughout the season in a few games. Eli Green, I feel like, can have a bigger role too. But the one guy that I kind of have my eye on is one that they got in the portal. That's Chase Sowell out of East Carolina. 5'11", just kind of the same build as Jalen Knoll. I feel like he's got that explosivity. Had a solid season with the Pirates this year in East Carolina. I feel like he can come in there and really help out this receiver room. I don't know if he's going to be the number 1, but he can definitely make some noise in that group next season for the Cyclones.
100%, I agree with you. And then another guy who they also got in the transfer portal I'm looking forward to is Xavier Townsend, the UCF transfer. And I know he originally committed to Iowa State, but then obviously went to UCF and played a couple seasons there. But, he's been, decent, I'd say, like kind of because obviously Kobe Hudson was their leading receiver during his time there. But, this year, I know he redshirted kind of really early on in the season. Didn't really get to play a whole lot this season, but had some solid games. I'd say during his 3-year career there. But he's another guy like I'm keeping my eye on because I know isn't Sowell a little taller, right? Or I don't know.
I think Sal's 5'11".
Oh, okay. Because Xavier Townsend's 5'11". I'm thinking.
No, Sal must be 6'4" then.
Yeah, because I remember one of them was 6. I know Townsend was short. It's kind of like a Jalen Knoll, and then Sal's like a Higgins size. So I feel like we could have our new Higgins and Knoll with Sal and Townsend right there among the other receivers. But mix and match kind of thing. We'll see what Rocco likes to who he likes to find during the spring and such.
Yeah, we know that he liked both Knoll and Higgins this year. Each getting over 1,000 yards, which is pretty cool to see. It felt like that Higgins was kind of his more go-to guy, and Knoll was that more let's move down the field, huge explosive play type of guy.
I agree. Yeah, he's more of a big play kind of target. But yeah, obviously Knoll did finish in front of Higgins for receiving because he did play in this Pop-Tarts Bowl, which I think is kind of fitting for Knoll just being with Iowa State for these full 4 years, going through a bunch of quarterback changes. It just changes itself. But obviously, yeah, great for both guys. But like you said, Higgins is more like the go-to guy, and then Knoll's more big play.
Right. Yeah. Higgins had 87 catches to Knoll's 80. Higgins had 9 touchdowns to Knoll's 10. And then Knoll ended up with just 11 more yards. So when you kind of factor all that in, it did feel like, well, and you look at the average yards per play too. Knoll with 14.9 and Higgins with 13.6. And Knoll did play that extra game than Higgins did. So that might have either like skewed or shrunk his numbers a little bit maybe. But nonetheless, they both had a stellar season, each of them individually and together.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And then you look at like the longest catch they had in the season, Knoll, 75 yards, which is that Iowa touchdown, and then Higgins was 39. So it just really shows the comparison between big play and like go-to kind of guy. Because, you could probably find Higgins down the field. He's kind of got a good speed for his size, but, Knoll is more that shifty guy to go sprint down the field and be able to get that long bonk too.
And it felt like we saw that on the first drive of the season too. Beck's first throw of the game, the first play of the season, that jump ball to Jalen Knoll, gets it in double coverage. I still don't know how he caught that pass.
Yeah,
that's still in my mind as the best play of the entire season.
Yeah, that was
just
surreal.
Unreal. And then the play after it, he goes to the other side of the field to Jaden Higgins, and it's like, all right, this is what the offense is going to look like this year. And it showed. It was the offense the entire season pretty much.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yep. Yeah, so overall, just a fun time at the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Iowa State finishes the season 11-3, first 10-win and first 11-win season in school history. And Matt Campbell likely to return, I would say. He's signed an 8-year deal through 2032, so he's set to come back. There is some speculation, though, that he's out there possibly interviewing for some NFL jobs. I know that we were talking about the Bears and the Jets he might interview for. Personally, I don't want to see him leave Iowa State. It'd be cool if he coached one of our teams, but not right now. Like, not right now. Not after the best season in Iowa State history.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I feel like it's kind of a good thing for him to kind of go off on this kind of high that he kind of had, setting the all-time wins record as a head coach here at Iowa State and doing that all that he did. But, just as a Bears and Jets fan, I don't want him to just get, like, ridiculed by the media and the fans because, those organizations are just something else, to say the least. But I just prefer that Matt Campbell does stay with Iowa State, and I feel like he will. I just think this kind of, like, testing the waters a little bit. It wouldn't hurt to interview with these teams just to kind of see how it goes. But yeah, please don't leave Campbell.
Yeah, please don't. And if he does, don't go to the Jets.
Don't go to the Bears.
This is the 15th year that the Jets haven't made the playoffs. I'm just so used to not having it happen. No. Like, I've just accepted it at this point. It's bad. It's where careers go to be ruined. Yeah,
I'd say the same for us too. I know we made the playoffs in 2018 and 2020, I think too, but no, don't want to talk about it. Like, I know we got a quarterback now, but no.
Anyway, back to the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Yeah.
The whole time there was fun. I got there very, very early to Orlando on Friday morning, like 1 a.m. It was a whole fun deal with the airport and everything.
Oh yeah, your flight times. And
it was great. But we made it there. First day there, we had a few activities to do. We had the food tasting?
Yep, menu tasting.
Yep.
For both Pop-Tarts and Cheez-It, because the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl between Illinois and South Carolina was like a couple days after the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Yep. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you do really quick. Go to our TikTok. Could be banned in a couple days, so
get to
I would say daily TikTok. If you want to see our food reviews from that, go watch it.
Yeah, I think it's on the Instagram too. I would say
there
daily.
we go. Yeah.
Anywhere we have social media.
Sure. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. Then we had later in the day there was
the pep rally. Yep.
That was a good time. Yeah. It was short, but I mean the band was there, the cheer squad was there. The captain said a few words. Campbell was there, said a few words.
Yeah. John Walters got the crowd hyped up too.
Yep.
It was kind of nice to see how many Iowa State fans were there for the pep rally. I know it's kind of short, but shows how many fans really came out to really come to this game, go out of their way to come out of this game. I know it's kind of a vacation too, going to Orlando, but I think just a good start to the trip. That first day menu tasting. Obviously you can watch what we thought of what the food was over there, but and then pep rally too was just a good time.
Yeah, there was definitely the pep rally. There was for sure more Iowa State fans at its pep rally than there were for Miami's.
Yeah.
Miami fans. I didn't realize it before we went down to Orlando that Miami and Orlando are like 3.5 hours away from each other. It's far. I didn't really realize Florida was that big.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was a longer trip. Honestly, that was like 5-6.
Oh, jeez.
I kind of overestimated that. That's why I was like, wait a minute, it's only 3.5. Like, actually, I don't live in Florida. I don't really know. But, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, and then when I equated that to Orlando to Miami is farther than Des Moines to Kansas City, that's kind of jarring, I thought.
It is very.
I was like, wow, that's crazy almost. But Miami fans were there. I felt like in the stands there may have been more Miami fans than Iowa State fans. But it was pretty even, 50-50-ish, maybe slightly more Miami fans.
Yeah.
There may have been more Iowa State, though, because they had that poll of, like, which song to play.
Oh, yeah. There was Juicy Wiggle, or I think it was some Lil Uzi Vert song.
Yeah, I forget what it was.
Just Wanna Rock, I think.
That's what it was, yeah. But Juicy Wiggle won.
Yeah.
So
the better song won.
Yeah.
We got a classic song versus just some random pop song.
Yeah. I don't know if it has any significance with University of Miami.
Yeah,
but
I don't follow Miami, so.
I don't either. We did for one game.
One game, yeah.
That was
I
enough.
just kind of watch highlights of Cam Ward here and there during the season, but that's pretty much it. I didn't really pay attention to the Hurricanes.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. But, I mean, other than really that day and the game itself, not really a whole lot of time to really do anything else. I had an early flight back, so I was really there for just kind of, that stuff and then the game itself. But overall, it was a fun time. I'm glad that we got to go down for it.
Oh, yeah, I know my flight stuff was different. I flew in before you to get there, and then obviously flew out later than you did because you had to leave at like the hotel like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it was fun.
But yeah, I got to stay there later that Sunday. Got to travel around UCF's campus. It's kind of nice to see. Talked about earlier in this podcast series before when we were talking about UCF during the regular season that my brother does go there. So nice to see his university again. But
how many times have you been to their campus now?
I'd say it's second or 2 or 3 now.
Okay. One
of those two. I know I've been there at least 2, but can't say for 3 right now. But, it's a nice campus. I like it. It's different. But, yeah, it was nice. It was supposed to rain, but I was able to ride around on a scooter on an empty campus, so it was cool. But, yeah, the Pop-Tarts Bowl itself, the experience going to Orlando and all that was just a fun time getting to do all these different things with either Iowa State fans or just hanging out in general with this guy. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
The trip that we had to, I mean, we had a lot of trips this year. Iowa City to start. We went further every time that we went somewhere for a football game. Iowa City to start, that was fun. My first time in Kinnick. Then we go to Arrowhead for the Kansas game. Then we go to Arlington for the Big 12 championship, which I still am like, that's crazy that they made it there. At the start of the season, I thought it was crazy. But after the Iowa game, I was like, all right, this team can make it to Arlington, and they did. And then to make it to Orlando, I'm so glad they didn't have to go to Memphis for the Liberty Bowl. I'm so glad.
Yeah, you didn't have to go through what I did last year with our old editors, Christian and Logan, and Jacob, our visual editor.
Yep. Shout out Jacob.
Yeah.
Editing this.
Oh, yeah. But no, nonetheless, just an unbelievable season. Now we're kind of into the thick of basketball season, plan on going to some away basketball games too, kind of like maybe Lawrence for we play Kansas again, and Kansas State, of course, to end off the season in Manhattan. I think that's planned. But then, of course, Big 12 championship game going back to Kansas City for that, and then March Madness wherever they end up, maybe Milwaukee, Indianapolis type of thing. But just an unbelievable year. I'd never expected to travel this much for Iowa State, but it was just new experiences, so many memories made, regardless if they won or lost. Like, it's just unbelievable. And on our trips for football, they went 2-2. So beat Iowa, beat Miami, then lost to Kansas and Arizona State.
Yeah, it would have been nice to win those other two games, but it wasn't the end of the world.
It can't be perfect.
Yeah, it was good though. This was definitely a season I'll never forget. I mean, I've watched Iowa State my entire life, and to be a part, to witness firsthand, I guess, this first 10-win, first 11-win season. To see Campbell break the record, to have two receivers catch over 1,000 yards, to make the Big 12 championship, to win one of the top bowl games outside of the playoff. Unbelievable. Just a season I will never forget.
Yeah, and I can't say the same for watching Iowa State my whole life. I kind of just was into college sports as soon as I committed to Iowa State type of thing. But, it was still like a spectacle to see. Like, even when I grew up watching NFL games, like, obviously there's some good ones, but now, like, going through these college seasons these past 4 years, it's been unbelievable, and to see it get better each and every year, especially capping it off with this year. Just there's no other better way that you could go out with than seeing what this team has done. Obviously, it was not perfect, it kind of went 13-0 kind of thing, won the national championship, but no, but yeah, that was just unbelievable. That's all I can say.
Yep, it was a fun season. Season's not over though. For college football as a whole, we've got one game to go. National championship is going to be on Monday. Who you got in that one, Notre Dame or Ohio State?
Give me the Fighting Irish.
Me too.
I want the non-conference team to win over the Big Ten team.
Me too. I think it would be so funny if they win it, just because of the whole talk of like the SEC and the Big Ten and this conference, that conference. These ones are better, super conferences. To have a team not from a conference that also lost to a MAC school as their only loss of the season would be hilarious to finish the season as. For Notre Dame to win the championship, that I would love to see that happen.
And I think a little blip here, I think if Notre Dame doesn't win, I think Northern Illinois does claim co-champions, co-national champions, because they took down the only team to take down Notre Dame during that season. And I felt like that game really turned the tide for Notre Dame. And it seemed like Riley Leonard and Marcus Freeman said about the same thing. That's kind of a check type of thing. Like, okay, we lost a team we shouldn't have at home. Like, now let's round out. Let's go roll through these games. And now they're at the national championship. They're one last challenge away from officially claiming that spot. And we'll see. I mean, and on the other side, of course, Ryan Day never won a national championship with Ohio State yet. And will it be this season? I mean, personally, hopefully not. But you never know. Will Howard there. Kansas State, we've seen him.
Yep.
We beat him last time we played him, which is nice. But we'll see. I mean, I like both teams, but if I had to choose one to win, give me the Irish.
Yeah. I would like to also equate Notre Dame's game against Northern Illinois, as much of a wake-up call as that probably was for them, to Iowa State's game against Ohio last season. Those two games, I felt like were massive, just like, hey, we've got to fix something to get right. And last season we saw it. Iowa State loses that game, still makes a bowl game. And the year after, Rocco Becht leads the team to the Big 12 championship, to a bowl game, first 11-win season. And then Notre Dame loses to that MAC school, and in the same season makes the playoff, undefeated the rest of the way, makes the national championship game. So kind of a little bit of a parallel right there. You lose to a MAC school, you're like, whoa, we got to fix some stuff. And then you have a great season afterwards.
Is it telling that the MAC might be the best conference in college football?
It may be.
Yeah, beating the non-conference team in Notre Dame and then beating the Big 12 team in Iowa State.
Well, Campbell came from the MAC too.
Yeah,
he came from Toledo, who beat Iowa State, I think the year before he came to Iowa State.
Yeah.
So
give me the MAC, man. MAC football is just special.
It's going to be different, though. Northern Illinois is leaving for the Mountain West.
Damn.
I know. Massachusetts, I think, is taking their spot, though.
I definitely like this conference realignment stuff. It's just getting confusing now of who's where, you know.
Yeah. It
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Let's put Massachusetts in the Mountain West. Why not? Like, with everything else going on, why not?
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, we've already got, former Pac-12 schools in the ACC, so.
Yeah, Cal has to go play Clemson on the road type of thing.
Yeah. They're not even like conferences anymore. It's just like TV partners at this point. Like, you're going to be on these networks against these teams. That's what conferences are now.
That's what they're signing up for, yeah.
Yeah.
So much fun with conference realignment.
Oh, yeah. It gave us a fun playoff, though, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
I
think so.
Sort of. I think it worked out.
The first round games kind of stunk.
Yeah. I liked that they were at home, though. That's kind of the only draw to the first round games.
Yeah. Gives a home field advantage type of feel.
Yeah. I think that having the 4 teams with the bye, though, and having them have a longer time off might have gotten them a little rusty, maybe out of it, because we saw all the teams with the bye lose. All the teams that hosted a game in the first round made it to the Final Four this year. So I don't know what the deal is with that. Maybe it just happened. Maybe those teams were just better. But I'm wondering if we just expand the playoff to 16, 8 first-round games. No one has a bye, time to rest or get cold or whatever. And then everyone comes into the New Year's 6 bowls, quarterfinal, semifinal, whatever, having played the same amount of games at that point.
Yeah,
that might be better.
I agree.
And you could still have your conference champions host a home game.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
That would be, yeah. And it felt like those teams like Miami and Iowa State would have made the college football playoff. Those 16 teams and, included some of those bowl games like the Pop-Tarts Bowl that could have been now into the college football playoff, which I know fans kind of talking about. I feel like, that's kind of a talk right there. I don't know what you feel like, but it could be something interesting to see if it actually does become a playoff game. But I think it should be just on its own away from the playoffs, like kind of a fun thing.
Yeah.
Expect it to be kind of high scoring like this too. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think it should be its own thing.
It works how they have it. Have your host home games, then you have 6 games before the national championship, and you've got 6 big bowl games, which are the New Year's 6 as they were known.
Yeah, claim.
It's crazy to me, though, that the Rose Bowl was so petty and kind of gate kept us from this 12-team playoff for so long just because they wanted to keep their traditional time for their game. They wanted to keep their traditional conferences for the game. And I get the tradition and all that, but at some point you've got to evolve and just grow with the times. And finally we got it. I'm glad we did. 12-team playoff has been fun so far.
100%.
Because when there was a 14 playoff, it felt like there weren't a whole lot of competitive games. It felt like maybe every other one in the semifinals was competitive. But this year, both of the games in the semifinals felt competitive. And I think that that's just kind of a thing of like we've weeded out the other teams. These are the teams that just kind of want it more right now, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. And, one of those games during this playoff that I kind of wish went the other way, which is really exciting, was the Arizona State-Texas game, which Scatterboo was literally dealing with everything. I think he was sick, but also put on a spectacle. Did a little bit of everything, threw for a touchdown, I think, or threw for completion at least, and then ran the ball like how he did. Called him the White Marshawn Lynch when we saw him in Arlington, and then of course, receiving wise too, he could do it all. Just unbelievable. I wish Texas. I know Burt Auburn did his job missing his field goals, but I wish just went the other way for the Sun Devils. I know we lost to them, but Big 12 representation, the most important thing. But, obviously didn't go their way. It was unfortunate. But, Texas did get BTA against Ohio State the next round, so would take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that game was fun. It's weird, though, when you kind of think about it. No, traditional Big 12 school made the playoff this year. Texas sort of, but they're in the SEC now. and then Arizona State's a new school for this year. So you didn't have a team that had been there for a long time or the entire time, like Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State. You know, I just kind of thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you look at the bracket, it's like, oh, Arizona State's the Big 12 representative, and Texas is in the SEC, and there's no other like Big 12 team. And the only other two that were kind of close besides Iowa State were BYU and Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So
and they played each other at the Alamo Bowl, and that game just really showed how much BYU wanted to be the better team. Like Colorado.
Was BYU snubbed of the playoff?
Maybe. I mean, shouldn't have lost to Arizona State, and I can't remember who the other loss was.
I don't either. Anyway, shouldn't have lost 2 games.
Yeah, shouldn't have lost 2 games. Yeah, you guys had it the whole majority of the season, but you don't get claimed majority champions. You get claimed whole season champions. So
Sucks what happened to them, though. I mean, to be a part of a 3-way tie, lose out in the tiebreaker for the Big 12 championship, but that's just the way it goes. Super conferences.
The way the ball rolls. Thank you for beating Houston, though, for making us for being able to go out to Arlington for this trip. But yeah, that's kind of oopsie.
Yeah. Overall, just final thoughts on the football season.
Unbelievable. Going back to all I can say is the one word. How about you?
I'll kind of echo it. Just unforgettable.
Would take it.
Near perfect.
Mm-hmm.
About as perfect as it could have gone for Iowa State football, knowing its history.
Yeah,
it was a good year. Hopefully Campbell returns. He should.
Yeah,
I don't think he takes an NFL job.
No,
I don't.
Same thing with Noah Pauley interviewing for the 49ers OC. I don't think he's going to leave for that. I mean, could I see it? Maybe, but I don't know. I don't think so.
Maybe later down the line.
Yeah, maybe after this next season.
Yeah, but, well, I guess that will do it for us today. Thanks for watching the 99th episode of Sports Weekly Podcast. If you liked it, subscribe, like, and stay tuned. We're probably going to have something pretty big planned for episode 100. We don't know what it is yet, but just know it's going to be something pretty big.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah. See you guys next time.